Check this out. On Thursday, February 8th of 2024, Teofimo Lopez defended his WBO junior welterweight title against Jamaine Ortiz. And this fight was not controversial. It's a lot of talk about how this was a controversial bout, that Ortiz was robbed. Not quite. I scored the fight myself. I scored it 8 for Teofimo. Now listen, Jamaine fought well, especially in the early rounds. He had a good game plan, but he just didn't do enough to take the belt from the champion, especially rounds 10 through 12. And those rounds in particularly, he stopped fighting. But that is not to say that Teofimo looked any better, because Teofimo lacked understanding on how to cut off the ring. How, as an elite level fighter, you do not know how to cut off the ring? And on top of that, he was getting frustrated by his opponent executing his game plan. How you gonna get mad that this man is fighting this way and you cannot stop it? If anything, that sounds like a you problem. If Ortiz had a higher level of skill, Teofimo would have easily lost this fight. Easily. And like I said, I like Ortiz's game plan. I like how he was using lateral movement. He came out in the southpaw stance. He was controlling the tempo of the fight. I wished he used more straights down the middle. Now, of course, he's not a southpaw fighter. Technically, he fights orthodox. So that was a huge flaw that he had, that they probably didn't prepare for it too much, because when he did let go that straight left, he was landing. He was landing clean on Teofimo. That was a shot that could have won him the fight if he just utilized it a little bit more. Now let's get to the real reason why everybody is mad. Everybody is not mad because Jamaine Ortiz got robbed. No, everybody is mad is because they had to stay up until midnight on a Thursday night to watch a snooze fest. This is the best fight to put on if you want to go to bed. You will catch Z's quickly. This fight was boring. The best round of this fight was the 7th round. Both fighters had some good moments in this round. That was a round I gave to Teofimo. He did some pretty good work in that round, especially towards the end. But man, this was a this fight was boring, man. Now, actually grading the fighter's own performance, I grade Jamaine Ortiz, I gave him a C. His team came up with a tremendous game plan. The only issue was execution. But the game plan that they came up with was beautiful. It frustrated Teofimo. Ortiz was a little bit more conditioned. Even though he started to fade in the later rounds, he stopped throwing as much. But his conditioning was pretty solid. His lack of high-level skills is what stopped him from being called a world champion on this night. Teofimo, on the other hand, I give him a performance of a D. Here's why. As somebody who is calling out a Terrence Crawford, you talking about you the best at 140 when Devin Haney is also in this division. Somebody who is saying that they the greatest we've ever seen since Muhammad Ali. This was your chance to show off. Oh, let me not forget. What was that nonsense when he came out in his entrance talking about the world, the showman, the world's greatest showman? You putting all these tags on yourself. And you are saying that this guy is running around the ring. But if you have the greatest offense of any fighter, if you're supposed to be this all-class, all-world fighter, how did you perform worse than he did? Now, some may be questioning, how can I give Jamaine Ortiz a C, but I give Teofimo a D, and yet I say Teofimo won 8-4? Well, it's simple. Jamaine did not do enough to take the belts. There were no definitive rounds that I could have gave him that was past 5. A lot of these rounds were close. They were close rounds. Now, an unwritten rule in boxing is that if there is a close round between the champion and the challenger, you always give the close round to the champion because the challenger must take the belt from the champion. That's why a lot of people were confused when Devin Haney beat Vasily Lomachenko last May. The reason why that happened was because Devin Haney is the champion. Vasily Lomachenko had to take that belt from him and he failed to do so. Haney put in that work and beat him. Similarly here, the only difference is between that fight and this fight is Teofimo looked pedestrian. So in this fight, you had a guy who was scared and you had the other guy who was happy that the other guy was scared. As far as the fight score, I'm going to have to give this fight a 1.5 out of 5. There is only 3 reasons why you should want to watch this fight. For the young fighters, the curriculum you will get from this fight is how not to cut off the ring 101. And when you fight the champion, when you come after King, you better not miss. Do not let the opportunity slip. Jamaine fought well early. But in the later rounds, he took his foot off the gas. But mostly that's due to him not having higher level skills and completing the task. Oh, and the last reason. This is a hell of a fight to watch if you want to go to sleep. If you need to catch up on some Z's, this is your fight right here. It'll definitely get the job done. And don't get me started on the post-fight interview with Teofimo. But whew, if Delusion had a picture, Teofimo would definitely be the representative of it. That dude is cooked out of his mind. Now what's next for both of these guys? Jamaine Ortiz, he's 27. He still got time to win a championship. I can only see him winning the title in a division that is not stacked with talent. He's the type of fighter who could snag a belt when the division is not top heavy. Right now, it's getting hot at 140. Even though he's a young fighter, he's one of those guys who he could beat average and above average talent. Once we start getting to guys who are great and elite level, he's going to struggle and possibly most likely lose. But I am interested in to see his next fight and who he go up against. I'm definitely will be tuning in just to see how he will come back from losing this fight. As far as Teofimo, it's ironic that he wore the Deadpool costume as he entered the building. And also, if you've seen the 1988 movie, The Deadpool, starring Clint Eastwood, both movies have the theme of the plot being about money being gambled on which celebrity or which person is going to die next. As for Teofimo himself, he is in a Deadpool with Shakur Stevenson and Roland Romero on which fighter is going to get done dirty first by their promoter / promotional company. Bob Arum was disappointed in this fight, and he tried to blame Jamaine Ortiz on why Teofimo performed poorly because of his fighting style. But then I will leave one to say, well, Bob, Shakur Stevenson fight in a similar fashion. So would you say that Teofimo is not an elite level fighter to where he could put a guy away like this? Or are you saying that Shakur Stevenson is a boring fighter? I think there's a little bit of truth to both of them. But it don't look good for Teofimo, man. To call out a Terrence Crawford. Just think about that. Teofimo had Terrence Crawford's attention. Terrence Crawford is in that phase right now of his career where he is only looking for big money fights. And for a split second, Teofimo had his attention, similarly to how Jermell Charlo did. And yet Teofimo won his fight, and as quickly as he gained the attention of a Terrence Crawford, he quickly lost it. Why? Because of his performance. It was terrible. Coming off of the Josh Taylor victory, this was the fight where your name value goes up even more. You build up on that momentum. You show people why you're the quote unquote takeover. If Bob Arum said he could have built a house in Beverly Hills on the money he lost on the last 3 Bud Crawford fights, I wonder what he could have bought or what he could have built on the combined number of fights that he done produced for Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. Let that man tell it, he could have bought the White House, Buckingham Palace, the Vatican, a yacht that can convert into a spaceship and launch into outer space. These dudes is losing money and they losing value. And they wondering why they can't get no fights. Teofimo, you not getting no Bud Crawford fight. Devin Haney don't even care to be undisputed at 140. You most likely not getting that fight either. The only way that you could build your name value back and get these fights that you claim that you want to make this money that you claim you want to make, you're going to have to go and fight Subriel Matias. You're going to have to go fight Subriel Matias and not only fight him, you're going to have to knock him out. That is the only way you could build your name value back up. Right now, your name value is at the bottom of the toilet. It looks bad. But a fight with Subriel Matias and an impressive outing against the boogeyman at 140, mind you, he got a belt. Your name value will be back to where it once was. Maybe even higher after you beat Vasily Lomachenko, however many years ago that was. It was so long ago, I couldn't even tell you the date. But we'll see how things transpire for both of these fighters moving forward. I think it should be interesting what move both of them make, especially after a fight like this. But we'll see. Peace.